Good morning to by the sound of my voice. You can tell about my entire life that they had come and I present to you for your viewing pleasure, my dear YouTuber friend, the professor of rock interviewing and Wilson about man about I'm finding out all the like no one sorry.
Ann Wilson Hart tells the story of the classic rock standard Magic Man, and we learn her origin story next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. We interview the great artists of the rock and roll era, and you never know who's going to show up on our channel from day to day. So make sure to subscribe below so you never miss out. Also, pick up your Professor of Rock hoodie at our merch link below. Now, every time I do an interview with an artist, I always want to know their origin story. We all want to know that. You know, if comic book movies are any indication of our culture, we're all curious how somebody became their best self. When I interviewed Ann Wilson Hart, I wanted to know why she ended up singing and why her sister played the guitar, because as you'll find, Ann Wilson actually picked up the guitar before her sister. You know, what were the moments that shaped her? You're going to find out next. Now, years after Hart formed, they started to take over radio. You know, it all started with their classic debut album, Dreamboat Annie, one of the finest debuts ever. Hart's first single from the album was actually How Deep It Goes. And it didn't receive a lot of attention when released in Canada by the Small Mushroom label in 1975. The second single, Magic Man, that was backed with How Deep It Goes, that was first picked up for radio play by a station in Montreal while the band was on tour playing small club dates. In America, as we all know, Crazy on You was the first single. That hit the top 40. That was followed very quickly by Magic Man, which would become Hart's first top 10 hit, and it started the legend that has endured up to now. Ann Wilson and original bassist Steve Fossen and drummer Michael DeRozier tell the story of this classic. Now, as we go into the interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I'm wearing a brand new pair of frames today that I got. I love these. I designed them, and you can do your own at the link below. They'll deliver them right to your door. Here's Ann Wilson with the story. What was it for you that kicked open the door to your mind and made you want to pursue music? Do you remember the moment?
Well,
Professionally, not I know I think of you as one of my like certainly I know you continue.
yes, like so many musicians of my generation, it was seeing the Beatles play on Ed Sullivan.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles!
That was really the moment when the light bulb went on. But I think It was different in the case of myself and my sister because we wanted to do it. We didn't just want to be the girlfriends of the Beatles. We wanted to go out and be the Beatles.
Right.
Be the experience.
It's interesting because I've interviewed like 80 musicians, and I swear like 80% of them say the Beatles.
That was a powerful moment, you know,
Yeah.
on television and for rock and roll in general. I mean, I think it was the first time rock had been shown just that way on TV. And it just opened up the tops of everyone's heads to the possibility of what could be.
I read somewhere, or saw something where you said that you just wanted to get closer to the TV just to, you know,
Yeah.
feel that energy and become that. It's funny because Mary Chapin Carpenter said that, I think Sean Colvin actually said it, and she borrowed it from her. She said, proof for her that God exists is that the Beatles found one another.
Yeah. That sounds something like Sean.
What was the first record you ever bought? You remember?
It was the Supremes. It was Where Did Our Love Go?
Baby, 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 don't leave me.
I was in 6th grade, I think, and I was walking home from school, and I had my allowance in my pocket. And I stopped by the store and picked it up, and I got in big trouble later. My mother did not think that was a wise expenditure.
One of the things that also drew you in is that you got mono as a child.
Yeah.
You had some time that you were down for a few months.
I don't know where they go. But I will have children joy.
And tell us about that.
It was strange because both my older sister Lynn and myself ended up with mono simultaneously. You know, most everybody gets mono in some way, they say, but you might get it so badly that they tell you, don't walk,
Yeah.
you know, your spleen's in danger. Well, I had it that way. I just had to stay prone and I had to walk really slow. So I had to concentrate on other things. My grandmother funded an acoustic guitar for me. $50. An acoustic nylon string guitar. That's how I just started figuring out, you know, laying there, passing the time away, trying to figure out how to make it, get those strings down to the fretboard and live through the pain of learning how to play the guitar and make the chords sound good. And finally, you know, it didn't take long until Nancy, my younger sister, you know, got a hold of the guitar and just like whizzed right past me. You know, she just is a natural. So we needed 2 guitars. The parents had to spring for another one, and we were both playing while I was laid up.
Where did you kind of learn to sing? Did you just kind of sing with the radio?
Yeah, I did sing with the radio, but it went back before that. In our family, our parents and our aunts and uncles and our grandparents their generations were big singers with each other. Whenever the families would get together for anything, Thanksgiving or anything, out would come the ukuleles and the old English bar songs and, you know, pub songs and stuff. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so there were a lot of more off-color songs, you know, that came from, that the Marines would sing together.
Yeah.
We'd be upstairs, supposedly in bed, but we'd be really listening at the top of the stairs. And that's when we learned to sing, is listening to our parents all sing together socially. And, you know, the cocktails flowing and everything, and they would really be uninhibited. And that was fun to listen to for kids. So then when we got a little older and we could stay up a little later, we got to sing along. I discovered that I could do a pretty good imitation of Ethel Merman.
Oh.
Singing the Hawaiian wedding song.
On a wedding in a big church with bridesmaids and flower girls.
So my mom a couple times got me to do it at parties, their adult parties, you know. And I think that's when I first experienced the little zing of what it feels like to sing in front of people. And have them go like, oh, look, what a kid, you know, like you have a really strange kid, but she's talented, you know. And then after that, from that point on, I just started singing along first with Motown and then later with Beatles and Stones and everything that came out.
Do you remember the first time that you heard your song on the radio?
Yeah, I do.
Tell us about that.
We had made the record, you know, but you make a record and put it out and then it's just, you wait, you know, and tumbleweeds roll and nothing really happens. You don't hear anything back for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just coming back from the grocery store one day in the car. I had the dog in the back with the groceries and all of a sudden Magic Man comes on the radio. It was such a big shock that I had to pull over. I had to get off the road. You know, that's my conservative Ann Wilson self kicking in. Get off the road, be safe. So I pulled over and me and the dog sat there and listened to it. It was another amazing, breathtaking moment. And then I got home and everybody was calling each other and the parents were calling up the radio station saying, hey, play that song, we just heard it, and then calling up again with a British accent, and then again with a Southern accent, and then, you know, just, because that's how it was done in those days, by request.
When you hear the story, you'll think, how could I ever forget it, and I never will. But anyway, so we heard from Shelley and Mike and Ken that some particular radio station was going to play Magic Man that day on the radio. So I get up first thing in the morning, I turn my stereo on and I'm listening, waiting, listening, and
I really don't know likewise. And my right now at the time.
the day's going on and on and on and on and on. And we had a gig that night at a local club. So there was a time I said, it's getting late, I got to get ready to go. So I turn the radio up a little bit and I go get in the shower. And as soon as I got soaking wet, head to toe, Magic Man comes on. So, I jumped out of the shower and went out and, quickly toweled down a little bit, but I was still dripping when I went out to really crank it up to hear myself for the first time. But yeah, that was it.
Wow. That's so
totally
cool.
Naked, dripping wet. That was the very first song that I recorded on Dreamboat Annie. It just came together really nice in the studio. I was sitting here and there was Raj was over here, Nancy was here, the drummer was over here, and we just all sat together and just banged it out.
Man, and silent like music and crap.
And of course, in those days, Mike Flicker was the producer, and he was very much involved in every part, that went down. So he was always out in the studio. Hey, I want this here, I want that, But, he was God at the time, so we had to listen to him.
Well, this is another song that's been used so much in pop culture. It was in the movie Swingers and How to Be Single.
Right. Well, we all have stories.
It's just a song that still is played in regular rotation all the time on classic rock
Oh yeah,
radio.
it's Magic Man is the highest tested radio song, one of the highest tested radio songs ever.
Now, Magic Man, I got to tell you this funny story because Magic Man, when I was in high school, and this is again the lost art of the album, we would talk about, well, this song's about this. And I remember there was a rumor going around that Magic Man's about Charles Manson.
Yeah, I remember that rumor, yeah.
And kind of like the Paul is dead thing with the Beatles and things. And I'd say, no. And you know, you didn't have the internet. So I remember going to the library and trying to find anything I could on Heart and the stories behind the songs.
Yeah.
It's not about Charlie Manson.
No, it's not. Why in the world would we waste our precious loving energy on
I know.
You know.
There was a rumor out there about that.
I remember that rumor. Everybody interprets lyrics in their own way, in a different way.
Totally.
So, you know, more power to them.
He's a magic man. Oh.
Magic Man again was a love song. One of the first ones that I ever wrote. Because it was the first time I'd been in love. Pure and simple. Just like I'm being taken over. Like the Muse song Madness, you know. This is madness, this is magic, you know. It's all emanating from this man.
Ooh, you got magic hands.
What you don't realize when you're in that kind of love is that it was already there to begin with.
Right.
This person just helps you bring it out.
Thank you so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Ann Wilson and Heart and this legendary song. To hear it, you can click on the link below. To get Heart on vinyl, click on our Amazon links. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe to be a part of this music community. To support our mission of curating the history of music, check us out on Patreon. Help us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.
And